Hey guys, it's Damien. I've got a really cool video. I want to talk about three things. Three things that will make your business more profitable, especially if you're selling your own products. There are a lot of ways that you can get products out there when it comes to getting your product in your customers' hands. There are obviously distributors. You can get working with companies that will distribute your products for you. You can actually sell them online, as I talk about and kind of coach everybody about selling through Amazon, Etsy, eBay, and of course your own website. But the one trick, the one thing that you got to keep in mind when you are in the middle of trying to grow a business from nothing is that your profit and your margins need to always be very, very, very high. And the best way to do that is to eliminate the amount of people between you and your customer. So I, a few years ago, actually was approached by a food distributor. I've actually been approached by three of them in the past probably 4 years now. And they were wanting to sell my products and buy them in bulk. The only drawback to that is that I don't do a lot of automated production of our product. There's a lot of hands-on. So what that does is that causes them to pretty much want your product for next to nothing, because the idea is that they're going to take that in bulk and they're going to want to sell that. And that goes to a retailer. So they're going to have a smaller price point from you to them. And then that distributor is going to want to sell that to obviously their retailers, and they got to keep their prices even low because the retailer still has to make a margin on it. So with that being said, I'm going to go over this in detail and just give you some tips and pointers. If you have an idea that you want to sell to retail stores, I'm going to kind of give you about a 3-minute pitch on exactly how that works. And in my opinion, with the amount of opportunity that is out there for you to sell directly to your customer, you're going to want to stay with that minimal amount of middlemen and keep out as many people as you can from you to your customer. That will always make the most money. Unless you are in an automated situation and you have an enormous amount of production where you can create a product for pennies, then distribution and larger distribution, logistically, that would make more sense. So let me run down that really quick. I've got a few pointers and hopefully this will help you. This is kind of a little bit different than what some of my videos have been lately in regards to selling online. But my theory, based on my own experience, is that you really want to be as close to your customer as possible. Not only with customer service and all that, you want to make sure that your products don't travel through too many hands. So with that being said, I want to show you what you can expect if you sell through a distributor and how that kind of works. I've worked with several retailers and I've had my products in big name stores in our local region where we are, and we had about 7 or 8 stores at that time. There was a lot to it. There was a lot of sampling that we had to do, setting up tables on the weekends. My wife and I literally would go to the stores and we'd have to hit several stores in the matter of a few hours. You tie up product, you have to give out samples. So unless you sell an enormous amount during that sampling period, it might end up costing you money and you're not making any money. So now that we are with Amazon, and of course we've beefed up our stores with Etsy and eBay, we have over 500 items listed on Etsy. We've got over 650 listed on Amazon, and this year we'll have about another 200 items rolling out. So what I would tell you is, number one, always try to sell direct to your customer, and do that through an online platform. That online platform has to be, like I said, either Amazon or Etsy or eBay, or your own website. This is going to be the most, my opinion, the most profitable way for you to start a business selling food products, especially when you're manufacturing or making it yourself. It's always going to be the best to go directly to your customer. If you're not going to be online and you still want to stick with the idea of selling it to a distributor, or you want to go through a food distributor so they can get your products directly to retailers, there's a few things you need to be aware of. Number one, distributors are going to want a certain amount of product produced basically on every order that they send to you, or a purchase order that they send to you. Now, if you're making things by hand and you only have a capacity within a week to produce 5,000 items of what you're making, and your distributor needs 20,000 units, you're going to have to beef up and produce with basically 4 times the amount of what you normally would make. So you'd have to meet their minimums. That's number one. So meet the minimums. And there we go. Meet the minimums. And that may be, like I said, thousands of units. It could be 1,000 or it could be 10,000 units. And normally how it'll work, a lot of times they're pretty flexible with manufacturers. When you give them a turnaround time, they're going to either say, look, you know what, 3 weeks to turn around or 4 weeks to turn around is not going to work. We need to have it within 2 weeks. And if you don't have the capacity or capabilities to put out that much in a shorter period of time, they're just going to move on to another product. There's thousands and thousands of products out there. And a lot of times distributors work on schedules that are sort of in line with the retailers. Retailers don't necessarily set that turnaround time always, but the two of them kind of work together, and they're going to expect you to produce that in that meantime. And so you're going to meet the minimums. The other thing is that they're going to request, or they're going to ask you to have special offers or deals. This happens a lot during seasonal times. So let's say you are approaching Q4 and you've got your fourth quarter products that are holiday related. They're going to either have you package them, produce them, or lower your price point even more so that they can fill the shelves with more products, or a specialty package product. So keep that in mind, that's also something that's a requisite, if you will. Not every case, but it does happen. So the distributor is going to also want some type of special packaging. And along with the special packaging, they're going to want, sorry about that, special packaging. Let's try that again. So what they're going to want along with that is they're going to also want some type of special pricing. So you got to think of that as well. And then on top of that, with a pricing and a packaging that could vary based upon the packaging you currently have, they may want it to be packaged a certain way. Then they're going to want a certain price point. They're going to want a certain percentage. You're going to have to come down on the price, or you're going to have to include some freebies in there during that time. So not only pricing, but then also the quantity. Now, keep in mind, if you're a small business guy and you are, the next thing I'll talk about is actually the terms too. You're a small business guy and cash flow is obviously very important to any business, but when you're a small business, it's extremely important. Cash flow coming in, money coming in and going out has to be a constant. When you've got more going out than you've got coming in, obviously you've got a deficit and you've got to have problems. If you have more coming in than you've got going out, that's good for you because that excess will allow you to grow your business. The thing that I've experienced is that a constant steady flow coming in and out is always better than an enormous amount coming in and a little going out, or the opposite. You want to make as much profit as possible, but when you are starting something from scratch, you don't have the capacity as far as manpower, resources, which would include packaging, labels, everything that's involved with producing a product. You're either going to have your money tied up in that product production, or you're going to have it in labor costs, or you're going to have it in other ways. So the reason why I say that is that when you deal with these guys, you're going to deal with a distributor. They're going to have payment terms. So a lot of times, let's say, for instance, you get a large order in and you think you've hit the jackpot. Well, the distributor is going to say this. They're going to say, hey, you know what? I love your product. We're going to get you in a whole bunch of stores. I'm going to need about 20,000 units. You set a price, you get it all established, but then they're going to tell you, guess what? We're going to need you to front that product, and I'm going to give you terms. If you're not familiar with this, I'll explain what that means. Terms. A lot of times that means that there is a set period of time, 30 days, 60 days, or even 90 days. Some cases that's even more. And what that means is you're going to give the distributor the product and then they're going to pay you 30, 60, or 90 days out. So if you're not in a capacity or situation to tie up that amount of money, resources, payroll, all the production costs, and then basically you're giving the product to somebody and you're going to sit back and twiddle your thumbs for about 60 days or 90 days until you get money. So keep that in mind. Again, going through a distributor, they're going to ask for terms. And those terms could be 30 days. Some of the terms could be 60 days. Some of the terms could be even 90 or more, and I'm not going to go on and on, but you get the idea. So this, you got 20,000 units and they want your product. Hey, yeah, you hit the jackpot. Great. That's gonna be, your product's going to be all over the place. Sounds wonderful. But that paycheck, let's just throw a number out there right now. The paycheck, it's $100,000 worth of product. So when you hear that number and they're going to want to buy it from you and then they're going to distribute it or they're going to offer it to their retailers through their distribution logistics and their warehousing, they're going to say that's great, but we're going to pay you $100,000, but it's not going to be for another 30 or 60 days. Oh, I didn't realize that. Well, that's kind of how it works. So this is another reason why when you open a store like on an Amazon or again on one of these platforms and you put your products up, you may not necessarily sell 20,000 units to one customer, but the potential to sell 1,000 units every single day, and you could fill them as you get an order, that begins that cycle of cash flow for you. And as a very small business, when you're starting from scratch, that cash flow is the lifeblood of that business, and that's how it's going to work. So if you ever get approached, and I have, like I said, I've got approached, I think it was 3 or 4 times over the past few years, I initially thought to myself, wow, you know what? The opportunity to get your product out there, it sounds exciting. The opportunity to get it in front of thousands of stores sounds even more exciting. But remember, you have to front it. You have to put it up before you get paid. So unless you're sitting on $100,000 in resources and products that you can tie up, it's not going to be worth anything to you. So again, every day that you get up and you operate your business and you're focusing on trying to build it, you don't want to tie up all of that time, effort, resources into trying to get it to a distributor who's going to also pay you pennies for it. So let me give you an example of how that works. So let's say you have a product. You have a product and it retails for $10. Let's just make this simple. Product price, okay, is $10. Okay, that's the retail. So we're going to draw a little graphic here. I'm sort of an artist, so bear with me. You have your retail store, right? We'll just use the letter R. That's your retail store. Now you have your distributor. I'll just do the letter D. Make it simple. And then you've got you, which is the manufacturer. So we'll use the letter M. Make it simple. Okay. So you got a manufacturer, you got a distributor, then you've got a retailer. So what you're going to look at is the factors of what it costs you to make a product. So below the manufacturer, I'm going to put this. I'm going to put the letter C. And this is going to stand for cost. Okay? It costs you about $2 to make. Now, from the $2 of your cost, you're going to create some type of margin for yourself. You've got to have some profit in there. Can you see that? I hope that you can. Let me see if I can, there we go. Don't want to knock the camera off because then it'll be on the floor. And the video will be over. Okay. So you have your cost, $2. Now, you are the manufacturer, you want to make some money, so normally what you would sell it from this point, from $2, you would sell it directly to your customer if you were selling online. If you did this route and you put $2 on there as a margin for yourself, so now the wholesale price is going to be $4. because per unit, you're going to want to make $2 a unit, let's just say. So the distributor comes in. Now he's the guy who's he can logistically, he's got all the connections, he's got shipping, he's got customer service, he can handle all of that stuff on that end when it comes to dealing with the retailer, because you don't have to do that. The distributor is going to say, look, how much can you get it to me? Because I have to make some money. When I sell it to the retailer, I have to be in business too. Normally what's going to happen is there's going to be about a 30 to 40% reduction in the retail price point is what manufacturers work from. So you have yourself here at $4. They're going to say, what is it you could get it to me? And you're going to say, well, I got to sell it to you for $4. And they're going to say, well, that's too high. So you remember your cost is at $2. They're going to say, look, I'll buy it from you. I'm going to buy it from you for about $2.50. But I'll buy 20,000 units. So you say, okay, $2.50. Now you're $1.50 less than what you would have been if you sold it at a wholesale price. So they're going to say, I need it at $2.50 because the retailer's retail price of $10 has got to be at least a 40% margin or so in there. So at $2.50, they're going to tack on, the distributor's going to tack on an extra $2 to $3. So now the $2.50 for the retailer, when they sell it, because they have to make money to pay their bills, they're going to sell it at around $4.50 to maybe even $5. So all of this money is lost. You lose all of that money because what you're doing is you're having an additional party, a third party. You're having somebody between you and your customer. Because at the end of the day, the retailer is going to sell it to the customer. You should be the one, when you sell online, you're going to sell it from yourself to the customer for $10. So instead of $2 at your cost, you're going to end up taking that $2 and creating almost an $8 margin for yourself per unit. So this customer, if you cut this guy out in the middle, all of that margin becomes yours. So that's the objective, is that this is super basic, simple stuff, by the way. The idea is that if the cost you about $2 to make, you want to sell it to your customer and you want that $10 per item price point. Because then when you go to an Etsy, an Amazon, or an eBay, from this retail price point, they're going to have their margin as well, because you're using their platform to sell the product. So let's just say it's around 10 to 15%. So you're going to take that off of the top of that, and then from your $2 production cost, what it's costing you to make, you're going to walk away with about a $6 to $7 profit per unit. It's a ballpark. It's depending upon the category. There's a lot of factors, but roughly that's about what you'll walk away with. So why would you give up that $6 to $7 per unit to a middleman? And that middleman is going to tell you, look, I need you to produce this. I need you to make it, and then I'm not going to pay you for 60 days or 90 days. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. And like I said, the only time that it makes sense is if you're at the situation, you're at a level where you can produce a product with machinery and there's not a lot of hands involved, so your costs go down even more. Plus, you can meet the timeline that they expect for you to fill an order, and you can produce it at such a ridiculously low price. Hey, you know what? Having a distributor sell my stuff makes sense for me. But you're probably not at that point. If you're watching these videos, you're not mass producing your product. So just keep that in mind, that the fewer hands, the better. And you really do want to try to minimize, again, recap this for you, keep as few hands away from your transactions as possible, and go with the flow. When it comes to like Amazon, it goes to Etsy, like I said, their percentages that they take when you're selling directly, I'm not talking about FBA here, by the way. When you're taking your sale of a product from you to your customer, don't have as many people in the middle as you, eliminate as many people as you can. Don't do that. So I hope that that helps you out. Kind of gives you just a super basic concept what I put there. That's again just a generic sample of how that works. You want to try to be as profitable as possible, and the cash flow issue is a big part, and that's something I learned early on in the game. That cash flow, and I'll tell you, any business, it doesn't matter if you're a Fortune 500 company or if you're just a Joe Blow starting a very small company out of your home. You got to keep the money moving. And with that right there, and you happen to have like a distributor or somebody, man, they're not going to pay you for about 30 to 60 days. And that's some serious money. And like I said, just from that example, if you happen to have 100 grand sitting around and you can tie up that much, hey, knock yourself out. That's great. But most of you that are watching these videos probably don't. I could tell you that what I would recommend, I had to learn all of this. All of this I had to learn through basically doing it. I didn't have anybody holding my hand along the way. I had to teach myself everything. I had to just Google question after question after question. And if you ever have a question that you need answered and you don't know it, of course you can try to ask me down here, and I will get to that and answer your questions as soon as I can, and I'll be happy to help. But in the meantime, I made Google my best friend. I'll tell you, I have typed in questions after questions, and if you don't know the answer to something, don't be afraid to ask. Because if you want to be a successful entrepreneur or any type of a business, doesn't matter what you want to do, you have to be open to questions and you have to be open to learning. The one thing that this type of business, actually being in any business, I've had about 6 or 7 that I've started and closed until I could find something that I knew I could be successful at. You have to ask questions, so don't be afraid to do that. You see a lot of videos on YouTube of people talking about mentors, and if you can't get directly to a mentor where you've got a direct relationship where you can ask questions, don't fret. Pick up a book and read it. Google a question and find out about it. Read as much information as you can. You don't necessarily have to have someone holding your hand through the process. You can learn this stuff on your own. You can ask the questions, because at the end of the day, you know the questions that you need answers to. And nobody else is going to have that insight except for you. So if there's something that you do know, make note of it and then move on. Find something, the next question that you may have, an answer that you need, a question that you need an answer to, make sure you ask. That's the best thing I could tell you as far as this is concerned. So I hope my videos are helpful. I know I've gone over 22 minutes now. I try to keep my videos as short and sweet to the point. I don't talk about a lot of numbers. What I make and what I sell, I can just tell you that I make a very good living doing what I do. I'm not going to divulge numbers. I don't think that that's a cool thing to do, to be honest with you. I don't brag about what I do. I just want the information to get to you guys, so hopefully that helps you out. Give me a thumbs up if you like my videos. Also, if you do want to share them, if you know someone in your family or maybe some friends of yours that want to get into this business, let them know about my videos. And again, I'm going to put a plug in really quick. I have that new channel that's coming out. It's going to be subscriber only. These videos that I'll have there are going to be much longer, so they're going to be much more informative. Every kind of topic that you can imagine, I will be covering, and that's going to be out there for you guys to help you save time researching things and questions. I'm going to be here to answer them. I've also got, as part of the membership, it's actually $12.99 a month. I am charging for it only because it's going to give me an opportunity to provide much more materials and information through that channel. And you will also have a direct link to me. Yes, I will actually put up a email that's going to be set up specifically for marketing food online. And you have direct access to me. This email will be responded to within 48 hours. So if you have a question you need answered on topics from licensing to what kind of commercial sink you need to buy if you are opening a commercial place, if you have certain questions about laws and what's allowed in certain states, ask me and I will get the answer. If I don't know the answer, I will find out and I will get it for you. The past several years, I have learned a tremendous amount of information doing this business. So now I want to help other people do it. And I've had some really, really great supporters and a lot of subscribers, and I do sincerely appreciate you guys giving me the feedback that you've given it to me, as well as the thumbs up. It motivates me to actually continue to do these videos because this is a really kind of a niche market type of scenario, doing baked goods from home or doing food products in general, plus the ability to just sell food business, start a food business online. So I appreciate it, and I thank you guys so much. Do have a good one, and take care.